Good morning, you guys. I want to make this video this morning. Obviously the title will clue you in a little bit, but yeah, I want to talk about I actually just want to put my opinion out there about the whole trans movement and transgenderism, I guess, and this dilemma that's going on nowadays where, you know, some people are fighting so that transgender athletes can, let's say, play in sports, for example, with, you know, like a man who became a woman, wants to play sports with girls, with other women. You know, I want to talk about all this. I want to talk about my opinion about all of this because, you know, I'm no stranger to the conservative movement. Not that that's a bad thing. Not that the conservative movement's a bad thing. Because there's definitely some things I think they need to kind of like iron out, or they need to smooth out. And I admit I lean much more to the conservative side than I do to the liberal side. I think that the liberal side means well, but they do a lot of illogical things. And again, I say they mean well, but they do a lot of crazy things, really. But anyway, so I was watching a really cool YouTube channel. You know, I mean, I say really cool, and it is really cool, but I'll tell you something. He helped trigger me in a good way. He helped trigger me into fine-tuning my opinion a bit more, helping me see, because what he was saying was the traditional loud voices that I hear in the conservative side. And you know, he was talking about how it's just so crazy that these transgender people want, you know, to be in women's sports or this or that. This, you know, it just doesn't make sense. It's illogical, and it's taking away from the women who are actually born biological women, because now there's a man who has changed into a woman. And I mean, let's face it, I think that if anybody is honest enough, they'll admit that that's not fair, that a full-grown man, even if he has a female name now, he might have a female name or be known as a female name, he still was born a man, and he's still in a man's body. He may have had surgery, he may have had this or that to make himself a woman, but he still has advantages of his male biology, right? And he wants to compete fairly against women, and then they want to give him a trophy for it. Like, this is triggering a lot of common sense out of me, a lot of feelings out of me, but that's just ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous. I mean, this is the point we've gotten to here, and I don't want to go crazy about this. I want to keep my cool, but I kind of just need to get this out here. This is the world that we're living in, where we think it's okay for a man, essentially, a man, to join women's sports and then give him a medal over all these women. Like, it's so counterintuitive, and it's crazy because the side that's pushing that, the side that's like, oh yeah, oh, Leah Thompson or whatever, oh, or whatever her name is, I don't know what her name is. Oh, oh my gosh, she's just such a wonderful, oh my gosh, she's a hero. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it doesn't end. And it's like, well, they're the people who fight for women's rights, right? And So it's like, well, why are you suddenly going to betray everything you stand for, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like, we support women's rights, but we support trans rights. And when that trans person wants to compete against those women need to shut up. It's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it's so ridiculous. And I think that the whole thing that the big epidemic that's going on right now is like the lack of common sense, the absence of common sense, and all of the new age free form definitionless ideas where it's just like anything goes, wiggle room. You can't ask a person a yes or no question because they can't answer yes or no, because they can't figure out how to fit their answer into a yes or no answer. They have to go on a long tirade and explain, oh, well, as this and this, and oh, well, I actually think that it's like, no, the question's yes or no, so just answer yes or no. Okay, take all your thoughts, deduce them, or you know, take your thoughts and decide whether your thoughts ultimately mean yes or ultimately mean no, and answer yes or no, right? And then you can say why, then you can elaborate, but instead we have all of these, you know, big, deep opinions and everything like that, and it's just ridiculous. But anyway, something I wanted to say on all of this, because this is what Devin Gibson, the YouTuber, he's the one who kind of like led me to make this video. One of the things he said was about there's only two genders. You know, there's only two genders, and that just made me sad, because, you know, that's crazy. Now, stick with me, because people are this is such a tipping point. This is such a sensitive topic, right? How many genders are there, right? So such a sensitive topic. Anyway, here's the thing. There are two genders, okay? There's male and female, right? But some people are born with a little bit of this and a little bit of that, okay? Or a lot of bit of this and a little bit of that. I think that's probably more accurate. I think that's more accurate. You know what I mean? I don't know of anyone, I've never seen anybody who has been born 50-50 male and female. I don't think that's usually the case. I think a person usually they either look male and may have female genitalia or breasts or whatever, or they look female and have male genitalia, right? So that's not really 50-50, because if your body as a whole looks like a girl or looks like a woman, then you're a woman. And I completely understand how anybody would be confused themselves. Not to mention how everybody else will be confused about who this person is, or what they would call them, or what they refer to them as, or what category they would put them in, all that sort of thing. But like, if you were born a woman and you have male genitalia or a male mind or something like that, you know, this just gets so crazy. It gets so dicey. You know what I mean? Originally I thought that if you're born basically a man, but you have some female traits or you have some female anatomy, then obviously that was a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, genetically, you know, like, that wasn't supposed to happen. You weren't supposed to have. If you're a woman, you're not supposed to have. You're not supposed to have a wiener. If you're a man, you're not supposed to have girl boobs or a vagina. You're not supposed to have those things if you're a man, right? The tricky part is it's crazy, because I don't really know how I feel right now about, like, I know I feel from the other side of how I've been feeling about things, but it's a tough call, because how do you make that decision, right? Because something's got to be corrected, right? And there's the side that says you need to fix this and you need to fall in line with male or female, and the other side's like, no, you don't have to fix anything, you're okay how you are. And then of course that side is in this world, and this world is not necessarily acclimated to that, right? So the tricky part is well, I guess you'd have to ask who is who to tell you what gender you are, right? If you're transgender, if you're born with different parts, because if you're born a man in a man's body and you have male parts, you're a man. You're not a woman, you're a man. But at the same time, if on the inside you feel as if you're a female, yet you're in a man's body, then we'll set that one aside for now. I'm going to set that one aside for now. But if you're born female, but you have male parts, or born male and you have female parts, it's really up to your parents to decide. Till you're 18, it's up to your parents to decide what happens to you. And some people might think that is so horrible and such an injustice and all this stuff, but the reality remains that you are still a child until you're 18. Legally, you're a child until you're 18. And your parents are your guardians, they're your protectors, they're supposed to protect you. And we already have parents who have the legal right to kill their children, right? Through abortion, which is wrong. So I'm not justifying the evil parents out there who are like, no, I wanted a girl, and you will become a girl. You know what I mean? I'm not defending those evil parents, right? I'm just saying that the parent, it is the parent's right. It is the parent's right to decide, and that's why they need to be held accountable, right? And I think that that's why I think you need to look at it as, well, this is where it gets so tricky. There's so much, man. There's so much. But I would say you probably need some kind of, when it comes to sex change surgery, let's call it, for young kids. Let's just say, if you're a boy, but you have girl boobs, or if you have girl parts, then that will be okay. I think in that case, it would be okay for your parents to decide to make you have surgery to have male parts. Take off the female parts and give you the male parts because you're a male. You know what I'm saying? But if it was vice versa, I don't think it's okay. I don't think that if you're a male and you're born with female parts, I don't think it's okay for the parents to say, okay, well, you're a female because you have female parts, so we're going to change the rest of you into a female. We're going to give you these hormone pills, we're going to give you this testosterone blocker or whatever, I don't know. And I don't think that's fair. So I think that somewhere along the line there needs to be some kind of rubric put in place, right? And it's just a confusing thing. It sucks because, yes, there are two genders, but when you say there's only two genders, you're disregarding a lot of people, and you're really putting them in a rough spot, because it's not their fault they were born the way they were. It's not their fault. They couldn't help that. That's just how they were born. So it's not their fault that they don't easily identify as a male or a woman, because they've got mixed parts. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. But when it comes to I feel like I'm a woman, or I feel like I'm a man, or I've always felt like I was a man. When it comes to that, that's different. And yeah, I mean, I hate to say it because I'm not trying to be insensitive, but you have to boil things down sometimes. You have to make sense out of things. You have to clear up nonsense. No offense, you have to make things make sense. You know what I mean? And this whole I feel like I'm a woman, so therefore I'm going to have surgery, and I'm going to take hormone pills, or I'm going to take this and that, or whatever it needs to be so I can be a man. You're not becoming a man. You're just not. You can't make yourself a man. If you're not a man, you can't make yourself a man. You can have whatever surgery to give you whatever. And this is where the conservative side has a lot of truth, okay? You can't just become a man. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're not a man, you're not a man. You can't become a man. Ellen Page, okay? You can't become a man. It doesn't matter how strongly you feel you are a man, how much you identify as a man. She's a prime example. You can't just become a man. It's the same way a man just can't become a woman. You know, you may have always felt this way. But you know what the problem is? People have really deep mental issues. And I'm not, again, I don't want you guys to just like, you know, peg me for saying something like that. But look, I'm serious. People do, and people don't want to admit it, but people have really deep-seated, tough mental issues. And instead of, this is one of the biggest problems about what's going on right now, and this is what's making so many people angry, is the fact that there are all these mental illnesses. It's a mental illness. If you think you're a woman and you're not, that's a mental illness. You're not a woman, you're a man. So, you know, you might be you're having an identity crisis, or this or that, or you're having this or that. But the problem is the world right now says it's okay. It's okay. Whatever you think you are, whatever you want to be, that's okay. Just be it. Well, there's a lot wrong with that, because that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. You can't just tell people, on the surface, it sounds great. Be who you want to be. Do what you want to do. That sounds great on the surface, right? But you have to really take that to its full end. And if you really think that you can tell your little 4 or 5-year-old daughter that it's okay if she wants to be a boy, that's wrong. That's so wrong. And so anyway, you know, I might catch a lot of flack for this. Hopefully I'm based here. Hopefully you guys think I'm based, because I feel pretty based. I'm open-minded still, but I'm pretty based. This is a really crazy issue. So many people have different feelings about it, and there's so much emotion and energy and passion about this. So much, right? So much. But what I'm saying ultimately, I just want to finish this last point here about the mental illness, is that there is not enough proper rehabilitation for people who are having, I don't know if gender dysphoria is the right word. I think it is. It is in my mind for what I'm trying to say. People who are having gender dysphoria, there's not enough rehabilitation. And, well, actually say that better, there's too much of the wrong kind of rehabilitation. Because, like I said, the rest of the world right now, and the whole agenda and the message that's being sent and all, is this whole idea of, like I said, oh, well, that's okay. You can do that. That's okay. That's totally okay. And there are not enough people saying, no, that's not okay. And that's the problem. And you can call us hateful or whatever. You can call us this or that, but it's not true. It's not that we're hateful. We're not hateful. It's simply the fact that we are sick and tired of people being treated the way that they are. And I know at the same time, you guys are too on the trans side. But we really have to look at this. We really have to come together and look at this together as an issue. And it's going to suck, because at the end of the day, if what is right actually happens, then there's going to be a lot of people on the trans side and on this whole open-ended spectrum side of things who want to defend the fact that they think there are so many genders. They're going to lose, and that's what I hope happens. No offense to them. I mean, I don't hope bad things happen to them, but I hope that they lose, because it's not okay it's not okay to just be like, oh, well, what gender are you? Well, I'm actually blue. I'm actually blue gender. Like, what? What do you mean? You know, and it just, you can't, look, the world is hard enough, and the world is especially hard for kids. Kids don't need all this stuff. They just don't. And that's what it boils down to. You know, we have futures, and our children are our futures. We have to be very careful about what we do, what we teach, and what we say to our children. Because if we start filling their heads with all these crazy ideas about things, then it's a really scary thought, you know? So, I mean, you have to have some semblance of normalcy here, right? And you look at the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom is not a million genders, right? The animal kingdom is the way it is because that's the way it has naturally survived and evolved over time. Male and female. So again, yes, there are two genders, male and female, yes. But there are a lot of people who are born that don't quite fit those categories. And I think that's the second part of the sentence that we need to start saying, because so many people feel excluded and left out, and that's not cool. But at the same time, it's also not cool to give kids a bunch of bad ideas about things, and it's not okay to encourage it's not okay to encourage unhealthy mental health. Unhealthy mental behavior. It's not okay to encourage that. So it just sucks. We need to boil this all down to is treat people how you want to be treated, right? And when it really comes down to it, no matter how trans anyone is, I could have a friend who's trans, you know, and they might think that they're a new gender, but I'm gonna tell them the truth. Like, that's cool. I'm glad you feel that way. I'm glad you found yourself. I'm glad that you feel happy. But I'm not gonna act like the world is going to. I'm not gonna act like the world needs to accept them, because you just can't expect that. You can't expect people to change, and that's a polarizing issue, because how could you expect a trans person to change, right? But it's a really tough issue. You really just have to think about it, and I don't think that all of these different genders is the future. I don't think it's the future. Right now, it's a really big, messy, it's a messy scene right now with everything. And it's really hard. So I think, you know, ultimately you just have to treat people the way that you want to be treated. Treat people with kindness, love, and respect. But from my point of view, there's more inappropriateness on the side that's demanding rights than there is on the side that is defending tradition. And I'll be honest, there's bloodshed on both sides, right? And there are conservative people who are you know, you could call them anti-trans, basically, but that wouldn't be the right way to call it. That wouldn't be the proper term, but I would say traditionalists. The traditionalists, they definitely get angry and upset, and they say some hurtful things about, you know, trans people, that sort of thing. They're very disregarding a lot of times on people's feelings, and you know, they say things like facts don't care about your feelings, right? So I mean, it's an interesting point of view. There's truth in it, but on a human level, which I think is the most important part of it, it's not the right thing to say. It's not nice to say something like that, especially when you're saying it at someone. And that's what it all boils down to. You have to be nice to people. You can't be militant and angry. You know what I mean? You can be angry, but don't take stuff out on people. Just don't. Just leave people alone. You know what I mean? Leave them alone. But in the interest of our well-being as a species, I think it's right and okay for us to expect some kind of normality. What's the right word? Not normality. Normality, yes, but semblance, where, you know, a basis. We need to have a basis. Like red is red, right? Blue is blue, right? Right. White is white, yes. Black is black, right? Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm glad we understand that. So we just have to be careful about all these undefined terms and what is being taught, because there are so many terms that we don't all agree on that are I call them undefined terms, where they're not definite. They're not definites. They're open-ended terms, and this whole idea we have to change everything to make everything inclusive, right? It's just it's not the way to go. It's a good idea. It's nice thinking, right? It's nice thinking, but there's more at stake than just making everybody feel good about each other. We cannot lose truth. We cannot lose our understanding of the truth. And that's more important. We have to defend our understanding of the truth. And that's why all these open-ended ideas and concepts that are very quickly being introduced to children at a very young age and being implemented in schools is a big deal. And that's what's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. We can't just do that. Nobody's sitting down and talking about it. Decisions are just being made and agendas are just being pushed out. And that is wrong. We need to have a discussion. We need to come to a conclusion. We need to decide how we feel, and we need to operate on that. So there's my thoughts, at least for now. I'm a little bit too tired to push anything more out, especially with not anyone else, especially without someone talking to me right now, having a conversation back and forth, right? But yeah, I hope you guys like this. And I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings or triggered you. I don't mean to. I just think that, you know, we really need to take care of ourselves, and it's a group effort. And I don't think that any one group of people should be dictating the terms for the whole group. And that goes for both sides.